By the way, are you looking for an effective way to manage your finances? More so if you are a church organization are facing challenges. Welcome. This is Marketplace Media, an online platform that engages, equips, and encourages believers to say inawezekana. If this is your first time being here, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button such that every time when we upload a new video, YouTube will be able to notify you. Thanks so much for those of you that have subscribed. Keep sharing the message, keep commenting. Let's grow the community. By the way, as a church, Kenya is made of 50 million persons. Among them, between 80 or 85% are Christians. So we are simply asking a very simple question. Should the pastor know how much each member of his church gives? Yani, pasi anatakiwa kujua kile ambacho umepeana. Should the pastor know how much each member of the church gives? Should he know? Yes or no? Please, we encourage you to either interact with us on our Facebook page or YouTube. That is Marketplace Media, or you can go to my Facebook profile, that is John Kimani. Let's know your thoughts on this. Should the pastor know how much each member of the church gives? Please give us your comment. And why? If it's a yes, why? If it's a no, why? Today is book wrap. The book wrap, we share insights, ideas, nuggets that we've gleaned from books. They said if you want to hide any information or liberation from an African, then put it in a book. And this is an attempt to be able to encourage you to inculcate a culture of reading. Today's book is The Church Money. The author, J. Christopher, has write this book to share the best practices for information and stewardship. Of course, you know that finances has been a hot potato, such a controversial issue, especially when it comes to churches. Now, J. Christopher is an ordained minister of the United Methodist Church and also doubles up as the CEO of the Horizon Stewardship Consulting Firm. He founded this company in 1992. And many of the chapters that he has written in this book actually originated as blog posts or newsletter articles. And so he decided to join them as a book. Now, somebody might be asking, John, why do I need to read this book? Now, 6 reasons you need to read this book, because it shares strategies that can increase end-year giving. One of the biggest struggles of most church leaders, more especially pastors, bishops, and apostles, any church leader, reverends, or apostles, is that they are not able to know how they can increase their end-year without actually making people to feel guilty. You know, and because J. Christopher has been there, he is a minister. He knows what works and what does not work. And in a short while, we shall be able to share some of those ideas that you can use as a pastor to increase your end of the year giving. Number 2, you need to read this book because it shows the first step for the newly appointed pastor. Are you a newly appointed pastor? You are new to the pastorate that you've been said. There are wonderful ideas in which this book, J. Christopher, can teach you. Number 3, it will also share pastors' knowledge on donors and giving them in the church. Whereas there is a divided opinion on whether the church pastor needs to know the top giver, the top donor, the top tither, or that question, there is divided opinion. J. Christopher is of the opinion that it is very important for the pastor to know those details, to know the names of those persons, so that not only can he be able to budget, but again, so that he can be able to thank them personally. Number 4, this book will be able to give you the tips, the criteria that you can use when you're selecting members of finance committee. finance committee. Some people are looking at me like, should a church have a finance committee? Well, for those churches, especially the mainstream churches that have that have a finance committee, what should constitute a finance committee, and what are the powers and the boundaries of a finance committee? Grab this book, you learn about that. And a very important question that is addressed in this book, which we highly recommend why we need to read this book, is what do you do when the giving is down? Especially now that we are coming out of a COVID season, now that the cost of living is very high, what is it that you can do so that you can still encourage giving? Remember, church, one of the only, and if not only, that churches are able to generate revenue or income, if you like, is by giving. Churches rely on donations, mostly on tithes, mostly on offertory, mostly on thanksgiving, mostly on love offering. And these are voluntary gifts. For people to give, you don't go out there with a whip and force them to give. So when people are faced with tough economic times, what should a pastor do? What are the options for the bishop, for the senior pastor that he needs to take? Grab this book. J. Christopher will be able to teach you. And then finally, the whole emphasis about tithing, why tithing is important, and how you can encourage people to give. Now, this is a very short book, and that's why we highly recommend you to read this book, because it's less than 120 pages. For an average reader, it can take about 2 or less hours of reading. The beautiful thing is that if you can't get the paperback edition, you can go to website and be able to grab an ebook version of the same. By the way, if you're interested, you can share with me your WhatsApp number, and I'll be able to send this book free of charge immediately after this broadcast. Now, this author has done several other books. He has done, we can mention 3. He has done Not Your Parents' Offering Plate. He has also done another excellent book, Rich Church, Poor Church, and then God versus Money. This is a 2014 publication, which tells you it's not very old. It's within the times and seasons that we are living with. And the author gives valuable insights that can help a church leader, a pastor, a bishop, and those who give our money. Because people come out and give money, it is very important that you observe the following important. We'll share 5 ideas that can be that the author shares. Think about them and implement them. This is Marketplace Media, an online platform that engages and equips believers to say inawezekana. If this is your first time being here, we encourage you to hit the subscribe button of our YouTube channel, so that every time when you upload a new video, YouTube will be able to notify you. And our question for today is very simple. Should a pastor know how much each member gives in terms of offering, in terms of tithes, in terms of love offering? Should a pastor have that information? Give us your answer. Give us your response. Is it a yes? Is it a no? And why? And you can reach us on both our Facebook and YouTube Marketplace Media. Facebook, YouTube, Marketplace Media. We shall read your responses at the tail end of this broadcast. You can even go to my Facebook profile, that is John Kimani, where we are streaming this broadcast, and then be able to give me your feedback, and we shall be able to read your comments. So J. Christopher shares 5 ideas that you can use so that you can become a good financial steward as a church leader. Remember, one of the biggest accusations that the church has been accused of is poor management of finances. those so-called prosperity preachers have been accused of exploiting their members. If you follow these 5 ideas that J. Christopher has shared with us, we believe that you're not going to be accused of financial misappropriation, and you're going to conduct stewardship in a way that is going to honor Christ. Number 1, financial reporting. Idea number 1 on financial reporting: instead of giving people statistics, that are boring, that we spent 10 million on donation, we spent 10,000 on administration, J. Christopher actually goes on the other end. He proposes that share stories of impact. You just say, because of giving your tithe, we were able to do this. Because of giving offering, we were able to do this. In other words, the donors or the givers would want to hear how the kind of impact their money is giving. Every time when people hear the impact their money is giving, they are encouraged to give more. And he has shared a lot of stories that you can read there, that when people see the impact of their donation, they are encouraged, they are inspired, they are encouraged to give more. So financial reporting, instead of sharing numbers, share stories of impact. Number 2, he also proposes the second idea on what he calls 90-day tithing challenge. Now, he says in the church, the senior pastor or the lead pastor should encourage what we call 90-day tithing challenge. It should be introduced with teachings on giving, the benefits of giving, why we need to give, more especially tithe, and how you can be able to give tithe. And members needs to be recruited. People needs to register for this 90-day tithing challenge. And the goal is, number 1, to know those people that are tithing. Number 2, to be able to write personally to them and encourage them and thank them for giving. The pastor actually needs to read the initiative by him actually recruiting himself into the challenge, and also sharing with the church members the benefits of giving tithes that he has witnessed in his own life. So 90-day tithing challenge. Idea number 3 is having a financial policy beforehand. Part of why there is a lot of fighting, more especially in churches, apart from leadership language, a lot of these challenges actually have to do with finances. When there is no financial policy in hand, members actually would go into all strength, trying to lobby and trying to win and trying to outsmart each other, and they end up fighting each other. For example, if you have a policy on donations, if there's a policy on donations, so when any donations that is given to you that does not fall in terms of love offering, in terms of fast fruits, in terms of tithes, in terms of free will offerings, just a donation, just assume a member or maybe a government official just comes and says, I'm going to give you land, or I'm going to give you 10 million, and it is not geared to anything. It's not about offering. It just says, I have given you. There needs to be a policy. There need to be a policy on how do you spend money given on fast fruits, on tithes, on free will, on offering. That kind of policy actually prevents when such money comes, when such windfall comes, it actually avoids fighting. And you understand that even in terms of expenses, church members have been known to be naughty, to come with many surprise demands. Some people will come and borrow money. What does the policy say about church members borrowing money? Or even some pastors will come and say they want to help themselves with the money from the offering basket. What is the policy behind such? So it is very important, because where there is no policy, a strong church can crack in the name of finances. So have a financial policy beforehand. Think before you leap. If you don't do it, as we said, the church will crack into pieces. Idea number 4 is thank people personally. And how can you be able to thank people personally in the world of social media, where people's WhatsApp numbers? Once they give, especially electronically, you can be able to write a personalized message to them, thanking them and telling them that you're in receipt of their money, of their offering, of their tithe, of their free will donation, all of their pledge. That is very, very important, because people feel that you have an accountable system. Otherwise, when you are not able to thank people personally, it simply means that the finances is enshrouded into mystery and is subjected to misappropriation. Remember, people give money and they need to know where their money is going. And then finally, idea number 5 is what we are calling inspire believers, closely connected with sharing stories of impact. Remember and remind members every day, especially as the church leader, that it is very, very important for them to remind them that their money is making an impact. Now, take this example. It is estimated in this country that there are 4,000 registered churches. If we go by our population, which stands at 50 million, and that Christians stand at 80%, it simply this translates that we have 40 million believers. Now, in the 2023-2024 budget, 82.1 billion was allocated to equity, poverty reduction, women and youth empowerment. That means that the money will be given to those people so that they can empower themselves. Now, look at this. Now, if these 40 million believers would commit themselves to raise 172 shillings per month for the next 12 months, they would actually raise 82.5 billion. That means there will be an excess of not less than 400 million shillings. Now, the other is of the opinion that when you want to inspire greatness, you avoid messaging your sermon into a way that will make people to feel guilty. When you make people feel guilty, they will not give. But when you inspire them, when you know what their money they can give, when you tell them your donations will do this and this, when you show them that they are going to make a difference, they are going to make an impact, when you inspire them, then they are going to give money comfortably. Now, let's quote some few memorable quotes. Quote number 1: the majority of persons who give money to the church really want to see Jesus' work be done, not the budget balanced. Let's take that again. The majority of persons who give money to the church, they want to see Jesus' work be done, not budget balanced. Number 2, quote, memorable quote number 2 from this book: are you sharing your stories? Are you helping persons to feel in their heart what sort of impact their generosity is having? Quote number 3: persons who truly love Jesus give. Those who do not love Jesus usually don't give. Our question for today was, should the pastor know what members are giving in terms of offering, in terms of tithes, in terms of free will offertory? In fact, should that information be availed to the pastor? Now, we asked that question on our Facebook profile page, and allow me to read some of the sampled results here. We asked that question, and we just sample some of them. Peter Kawajiko began by saying, Sioni makosa hapo. In other words, what is the mistake the pastor should know? Actually, the opinion is divided. Princess Agi is saying hiyo inakuanga siri ya member na Mungu wake. So you can see that one. Evangelist Daniel Rukwaro is actually written a long one here. Let me read it. I believe giving is an obligation to every believer, and God who sees deep inside our hearts, we are accounted. Pastor is a steward who is a custodian of God's church and everything in it, and I also believe he gives account of what he has been entrusted with. So steward should know what comes in and goes out so that he can account well to his maker of what was entrusted with. And you're asking me, hope I'm clear. Daniel Lukwaro, you are really perfect. You are really clear. My friend Pastor Peter Jack says, if they're giving to him, he should know. If they're giving to God, he has no business knowing. Dongo Maina, if his or her mission in his church, if his or her mission in his church, her church is money, he should know. What? Joseph Kamau, no. And another no. Asking people to rise up if you have donated. Hey, Joseph Kamau, the winning, those are divided opinions. Of course, you've been able to see them. You've been able to see them that have come. Let's check. Sarambogo says no. Keep them coming. Should the pastor know how much each member gives in his church? Should the pastor know how much each member gives in his church? In the considered opinion of the author, he says a pastor must know, actually read the words, the pastor must know how people give in order to provide appropriate leadership to the church entrusted into his or her care. A pastor must know how people give to help all persons grow in Christ. The pastor is not God. The pastor is just doing his or her job. The comments of J. Christopher. Today we were doing book wrap on the book The Church